Welcome to the Emerging Lawyer series at the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is Zen and the Art of Privacy Law. We have with us Harini Sudersan, partner at Povaya and Company. With an extraordinary career that has spanned top-tier law firms, Interpol, and product startups, Harini now wears multiple hats. She is a co-founder of the Mindful Productivity at ZEN-it and dual qualified attorney in India and California. Certified in both CIPP/US and CIPP/E, she brings razor-sharp legal acumen and human-centered thinking into every conversation about AI, data protection, and product design. Today, we explore how she blends mindfulness with mastery in law, leadership, and life. So welcome, Harini, to today's coffee conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here too.
Wow. So it will be interesting blending, philosophy, Zen with law, tech, privacy, so many things. Wow, we have got a series of Sri Shakti. So I'm dedicating your episode to Sri Shakti. So
That's
uh,
fantastic.
yeah, so I'll ask you one question on that part also. So be prepared.
For sure. For sure.
Okay. So let me explain you. There are three rounds: professional journey, personal journey, and a surprise rapid fire, where you will be in the hot seat. You have to be witty, fun, and quick. And here's your inspiration: Legal AI
Ooh,
101.
okay.
Yeah, authored by me, and it will be autograph also and sent to you. So, friends, I'm Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Conversation and legal tech evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. We help law firms, corporate legal, startup, SMEs with world-class technology, software licensing, and tech training solution. So, my first question, Harini, from Interpol to entrepreneurship, how has the legal journey evolved and what guided each leap?
So the interesting thing is that there was a point in time when I used to feel like I could never be an entrepreneur. And I used to proudly say this to many people that, I needed some structure. I needed to have a certain, organization into which I could plug myself and contribute. I'd also known from a very young, somewhat young age at least, that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I really enjoy lawyering work. So that's how my mind was. Now, what changed was that when I left Interpol and moved back to India, I started feeling like I wanted to have a small solo practice. I wanted to set up a fractional counsel practice. By this point, I'd worked in-house and I'd also worked at firms. So I felt like I could now bring in some of my in-house experience as well into my practice, and I wanted to give it a shot. This somewhat, I feel, mentally opened the floodgates for me. Once I did this, I feel like I was starting to embrace uncertainty, taking on different kinds of hats, not just doing my work as a lawyer, but doing other things in relation to a law practice. Between that and conversations with my sister is how ZEN-it as an idea was born. We tested it with users and surveys, and then eventually we just took the plunge. But as I said, my time in-house had a big effect on this. And especially, I think, working closely with business teams, operations, having that interface with many other teams that possibly in a law firm you may not have that kind of interface with. It started opening my mind up to these ideas that, I could understand and perform some of these functions as well. So that's how that, unlocking of different doors in my own brain happened. And I made that shift slowly.
Wow, beautiful. So let's dive deep into conversation. I'm dividing into two, three parts because you have had various roles and journey. So when advising on privacy compliance for AI systems, what's one ethical line you believe must never be crossed?
Okay, so I'm going to dive a little bit into fiction for this, a book that I
Yeah,
really
please.
enjoy reading.
Mhm.
Isaac Asimov's I, Robot. It is a bit dated, but I think it gives you a very good sense of when you start off with these laws of robotics, which I feel really apply as well to AI, right? They seem on the face of it to be, absolutely applicable and wonderful rules that should help guide us. But once you start trying to implement them is when you realize that that's just half the journey and there's a lot more that you need to consider. Coming to AI and the state that it is in today, I think on the one hand, you have legal issues, you have copyright issues, you have data protection concerns. How can you exercise data protection rights in the context of AI? Is suppression of data enough, etc.? Let's leave those aside. On the ethical side as well, you have questions around guardrails, bias in training data sets, and what kind of safety mechanisms do you need to put in place? But for me, I think we need to adopt a more overarching principle that we do see in iRobot as well. Keep the human at the center of things and keep the welfare of the human at the center of things. So once you have the human at the heart of it, I think your ethical framework should be slowly drawn around that. And that's something that you should never cross. I'll also be the first to say it's easier said than done. Again, even in the stories themselves, it's a fantastic read. I would encourage everyone to read it, and especially now it's very timely and timeless. But it really demonstrates how even with the best of intentions, it can be hard to get these things right. But to go back to your question, keep the human at the heart of things and consider the safety of the human first.
Beautiful. So, I'm planning to do a panel discussion, a fireside chat with you and another coffee speaker who, with this career, he's managing his passion also. So you're doing both.
Okay.
So it will be easy.
All right.
You want to inspire uh, people out there कि by with your career you can have your passion and that can be also scaled up. So let's have
Fantastic.
because now you're part of the coffee type community. So a lot of actions will be happening with each coffee speaker. We did panel discussion on Father's Day. We're the first pioneers getting fathers to come and share their apna journey of being apna partners and providers. The theme was like that. So yes. So because everyone covers on mothers,
Mothers,
women.
right? Yeah, I think this is really
Yeah,
special for
Women
sure.
Day तो पूरा it's an international trend हो गया है. So everyone covers women, women, women. That's why Sri Shakti आया. So I'm just sharing how does Sri Shakti come up. Then everyone people started about including अपना ये women. Sorry, mothers. But
Mothers, yeah, for sure.
हाँ, fathers के लिए भी something is started like some events are being done. Like I was reading the newspaper Sunday midday. There are a couple of events are being organized. You can take your father for lunch, for some apna outing,
Hmm.
for walk, and all those things. But beyond what next? How can we share his journey as a father?
Hmm.
So that way, there were four coffee speakers. One was Apna Kharanshu. He's a young father. Then we had someone, Anuj, 7 to 8 years daughters are there. Then third one, Nitin Bhuwania, little more elder. The senior post father, Rahul Puri. Ye children are now graduates doing their own career.
Okay.
So
Oh,
they all
that's a
were
nice
surprised
whole
by.
spectrum.
Yeah, I am also surprised how did it happen. It's all divine planning and selection. So they were also surprised, and okay, each phase being covered in the journey. And Karanshu was the most in gratitude ke bhai, he got an opportunity because yes, uh, the youngest one to be covered, to be invited as a panelist because his journey just started in entrepreneurship and all those things. And apna ye rehta ye. So and he's his journey like he's part of the Accent Foundation also of Harsh Mariwala. They're
Okay.
into
Okay.
a startup advisory for apna
Hmm.
founders. So we have got another 4 to 5 coffee speakers who are involved in that accent at different levels. So let's continue. So my next question, what excites you the most about being a technology and data protection lawyer in today's AI-driven world?
Wow, where do I even start? So I'm old enough now that I've myself in my lifetime seen a lot of technological progress, from the days of VCRs and, audio cassettes, to seeing the first iPhone that came out, using a BlackBerry. I remember the time I got my first Gmail account through an invite. It was on an invite basis right at the beginning, way back in 2005. So somebody had an invite and they shared it with me. And what I do feel is that over time, um, we've seen how much technology has impacted us in a positive way. I'm a bit of a technology optimist. And I feel like there's been a lot of democratization that's come along with that, where the benefits of technology, if you look at it in the 90s, there were only a handful of people who could, for example, have access to email. Look at things today, where all kinds of services and opportunities are available to people thanks to the march of technology. And then now we have AI, which is in the public facing sense, a little bit nascent. Of course, AI has been there, been under development for many years with winters and summers and what have you. But at the moment, you have AI again in a very democratic phase where a lot of people are able to start leveraging it in many ways. So in general, I'm quite optimistic about technology and technological progress and what that means for humanity. And I also feel in that sense, as someone who dabbles a lot in technology, is tried to learn Python, this, that. I feel that being a lawyer in this space can mean that being the difference between a lawyer who does not really vibe with technology or understand it, trying to just provide on regulation or advice, versus being someone who's grown in this environment and with this bent of mind. I think I'm absolutely excited to be here, to be one of those who's able to advise on this in this context.
Wow. So, Harini, how do you navigate the tension between user experience and regulatory compliance during product development?
So now you're trying to catch me out once I said that, right? Um, Okay, this is not limited to my ZEN-it days, but also whether I've worked
Yeah.
in-house or with other teams, right?
Yeah.
There is a friction. I would be lying if I didn't say there is no friction. There is a friction between what product teams want, what marketing teams want, and what legal teams or data protection teams want to achieve. Is for everyone to try and have the right attitude. That is that end of the day, everyone is working for that business to move forward. And you can work to move the business forward by sitting down together and having open and respectful conversations and not having hang-ups. You need to have good trust and a good rapport. And for a lawyer, you need to abandon this notion that, the law drives everything. Compliance is very important. And obviously, no lawyer is going to say to their client to not comply with law. But you have to understand that the business moves forward and lawyers are there to help the business move forward and point out red line risks. So once you adjust your attitude, then what happens is that when you point out really significant risks, like, saying that this is a dark pattern, please don't do this, then you will be taken seriously. If you're going to be crying wolf for everything, then your input is devalued, and then you can't really have that sense of trust or have the ability to move forward with the rest of the team.
Wow. So, Harini, you have worked in both private law firms and international organizations. How did those environments shape your leadership style over the years?
That's a very good question. I've learned different things from different places, I would say, and learned to emphasize different core values or principles by absorbing it from my environment. So in a certain environment, I might have focused more on sort of client, how should I say it, putting your client forward and, respecting your client's needs first and foremost and being available for them and assisting them. In a different situation, I've learned that you have to pursue excellence no matter what. Whatever and everything that you do has to be excellent. I've also had the benefit of having experiences that showed me that it's very important to have a respectful work environment. You can agree or disagree, but everyone in the work environment should be very respectful. So somewhere a lot of these I've imbibed. And today as a leader, I have these core principles, always pursue excellence, have a respectful work environment, place intellectual integrity ahead of ego. So that means everybody makes mistakes. However high you may be in the chain, you may have made a mistake, and then you need to open up to it as well. And essentially enabling everyone, have respectful debates as well, intellectual debates. So these are all the things that I've picked up a little from here, a little from there, including from ZEN-it, I would say. And I've really enjoyed this journey and what it's taught me in terms of leadership.
Wow. So since you brought me, I was uh, wanted to ask more about ZEN-it in my later part of the conversation, but let's cover this part. How do you balance the structure of law with the fluid creativity needed to build a product like ZEN-it? And can you briefly walk us through, okay, what got you to make this mindfulness app, and how have viewers taken to this app, and what changes did this bring in their lives?
Um, okay, so let me start off with what actually led me to work on ZEN-it. I had a very different kind of idea earlier, which I was thinking over and discussing with my sister. And then we started running. So she's very big on design thinking. So we ran some surveys to get user inputs, customer inputs. Um, and based on that, we also started having some conversations with different segments of users. So we actually followed like a proper product development process, starting with design thinking, everything, all right? Developing specs and then working with a dev team to actually get it up and going. Meanwhile, around that time, I'd also been dabbling in mindfulness, meditation, and so on. One of the reasons that we were able to bring this together into this app, aside to my having this side interest in meditation, mindfulness, was where we were in life as well. So my sister and I know you discussed fathers rather than mothers earlier, but my sister and I are both mothers. Different stages of motherhood, as you said as well, about those fathers, right? Her children are older, mine are relatively younger, but busy mothers who've been working for quite a few years, uh, dare I say, intellectually inclined, and both really tend towards perfectionism, especially on the professional side, but also want to show up for our families, want to be there for all the important things. So how do you manage it all? So this was really a strong undercurrent for us. And then it so happened that among the segments we spoke to, when we spoke to women especially, we did feel that there were different asks that were coming up. Along with that, there was also this concern around it's hard to focus these days. I don't have enough of an attention span. And I have too many things to do on too many sides. So how do I handle all this? So we, put our thinking caps on and we sat together, brainstormed, and came up with a list of what we felt would be the right features. We did a no-code kind of or low-code version of an MVP using an MVP creation software. Tested that out once, and then after that we launched ZEN-it. Interestingly, though, our initial hypothesis was more on working mothers, let's say. We found after we launched the app that there were many students who signed up for the app and who were power users. So at the moment, actually, we're going through a process of updating some additional features on the app, which might be more student friendly. But that's where the ZEN-it journey ZEN-it journey has been like. And now, as for balancing, the creativity that is required with, what law typically wants of you, I'm someone who's usually bubbling with ideas. I could say dime a dozen, and those tend to be a bit creative. I'm always thinking about new things and wanting to pursue 100 different shiny new things. And that's also where mindfulness helped me to a great degree to, bring my mind under control and focus on one thing at a time, complete what you start, those kind of things. But that's where my creativity first manifests itself. But when it comes to implementing these things, I generally tend to need a degree of structure. So, and I'm very, as every lawyer, I work very well with words. So, for instance, if we started doing the features for ZEN-it, I remember that I mapped out screen by screen what the app should look like using words. So there will be the screen. In the screen, if you press this button, this will go there. So my sister is a very visual person, and she's like our creative head, design head. Not that she also has done she's the main architect behind our priority visit algorithm and everything. But for her, it was drawing it out. For me, it was writing it down word by word with a kind of structure that made sense to me. So for me, ideas are creative. And then when I want to implement them, I need a structure. So I have a system in my head where it's a bit of yin and yang. I balance the two out. I think that works well.
Wow, beautiful. So you're looking forward to that apna ye walk through more things. And yes, we have also done something from our side, which we'll discuss later, because now we have to
Okay.
focus on your journey and it's your day. Okay. So, as someone dual qualified in India and California, uh, what are the differences do you see in the regulatory ecosystems?
Oh, this is quite a googly, I would say, because the way that a jurisdiction like the US handles many laws and regulations is very different from the way it is done in India. Now, in India as well, we have a federal setup, but then you have many more, especially in the core areas that I practice in, at least like technology law, a lot of it tends to be centralized. So you have one law that applies to most of the country. Similarly, I used to do a lot of work, for example, on GDPR related matters. Um, Earlier, at least with the directive, it was different in the EU, but with the GDPR, again, you have something that is quite standardized. On the other hand, in the US, a lot of it is a patchwork of what different states do, because it is can I say, a very truly federal structure. And whenever you want to look at laws that apply in the US, you really have to look at different states. And then you also have to look at if there's anything that is federal that can apply. So it's quite a different ballgame. In that sense, I would say the US is more challenging, especially if you are somewhat of an outsider. Whereas in India, I think, at least on tech law, it tends to be quite centralized. So you have a central law, and then, of course, judgments and other things that.
Wow. Okay. So now let's go to your interesting part of being part of Interpol. What is the experience? And my next question will be someone wants from India to join Interpol. So how does one go about?
It's actually quite easy to join Interpol in the sense that whenever there's an opening, whenever there's a job vacancy, they do advertise it. Anybody can apply. And unlike, say, private sector jobs, the thing with Interpol is that if you are selected in the interview process, um, they will cover your relocation cost, and depending on which jurisdiction you are joining in, you don't have to worry about, say, a visa sponsorship, which is something that you would normally worry about in private sector. So usually if you're sitting, say, in India and applying for a job somewhere outside now, and especially in today's geopolitical climate, it's highly unlikely that somebody would sponsor a visa for you to relocate, pay for your relocation, etc. Interpol doesn't work that way because they want a truly diverse workforce and whoever is the best fit for the job, really.
Wow.
As for my experience working in Interpol, I think it was uh, extremely memorable. I made lots of great friends. I worked with people from so many different countries. The diversity itself is mind-boggling. Um, and it helps you really benchmark yourself against different cultures and ways of working. It helps you rise to do a better job of everything that you do. I think everyone tends to learn from one another and try to do better and be better.
So what were the areas of work you were handling? And
So I was counsel for the Cybercrime Directorate. So I did pretty much everything that the Cybercrime Directorate needed. Of course, I reported into seniors in headquarters to the assistant director of what was called police projects. In terms of what the work involved, I had to assist on certain flagship tech products that were being built. I assisted in negotiating information sharing agreements between Interpol and the private sector. And I also helped in setting up certain data governance processes. I think this much detail is what I can easily
yeah, yeah,
share at this point.
that thing. So that coffee we can understand. We ask our coffee speaker when they come up, okay, by we can't share company name. It's fine. We just need merits of the case, which will help ye, ye other viewers out there how they can go ahead learn from your experience and in the journey. So this is what a coffee is. Ki bhai, you're the change maker, and which is helping ye future ones. Okay, like why I ask this question? When they're coming to Interpol, you said about the work culture, but what areas of work, what kind of work they are
Yeah, yeah.
getting into? Because we have seen movies, Interpol. Yeah,
Okay,
some
so
of
I
the CID part,
no.
but a lawyer
Okay,
I've
this I
not
have to say.
heard about.
Yeah, Interpol doesn't chase anyone. There's nobody jumping out of helicopters running behind anyone else. It is an
I know, I
international
know.
organization. I know. But as you said, for the benefit of everyone else who might
Yeah.
view this, um, any actions that Interpol takes are in line with its mandate and as authorized under Interpol's constitution. A lot of the work that happens internally revolves around institutional affairs, which could be issues surrounding member countries very loosely and other things around that. It could be related to Interpol's notices system. And it also relates to what used to be called police projects within Interpol, which is initiatives that the police teams within Interpol come up with. Bear in mind, they're not actual police. They don't function as law enforcement. We tend to call them police projects because usually many of these teams are seconded or the personnel are seconded from different police organizations around the world and whatever initiatives they come up with. So it could even be something like capacity building and training. Nobody is running and chasing criminals from it.
I know. Thanks for that. What Interpol as an organization is, and so many things they are doing. So that's very wonderful. Uh, 'Cause you're sharing. So someone from India, we're proud of you. Okay, you have been part of that legal side journey. Someone will be from the policing side, yeah, up now forensic side. So many. So all those Indians, we are proud of. Okay, but getting the opportunity to be part of Interpol as an international organization functioning so many areas. And as you said, Kubai, they want people from diverse background and they look after their team members with love and care. That's very beautiful. Okay, so continuing the conversation, who has influenced you professionally and personally?
Professionally, I have several mentors. At this point, I don't know that I can take their names. Couple at Interpol as well, and a couple from earlier on. Um, I think each of them has influenced me in different ways. As I said earlier on leadership itself, right? Some have influenced me to look to be excellent at everything that I do, no matter what. Um, and at least one of them has been strangely has been influential on my personal life in the sense that this is someone who helped me make that transition from being a young and hungry lawyer, always working, always, trying to learn everything under the sun, to also take a step back and look at, what were my other needs? What were my needs from the perspective of my family, or making time for friends, or making time for my own health? Not all at once or not like one particular eureka moment on a given day. But over time, working together, I began to appreciate these kind of issues as well and learn to slightly slow down, pace myself. So very
Wow,
grateful to those mentors.
wow, beautiful. Okay, so what's one biggest misconception lawyers have when they first enter the world of product advisory or tech startups?
Um, Putting it simply, you can't put the cart before the horse. I think lawyers, we always tend to start with thinking only about legal issues. So the moment, even in product advisory, your brain starts firing off 10 issues before the product manager has even spoken 3 lines about what the product needs to do. And our next immediate reaction is going to be to advise on the law. So this is a big misconception. The first thing that, even if you are a product counsel, like even if you've been hired to do this role, the first thing you need to do is to understand the business really well, understand what is the strategic direction of the business, and then give your input. The misconception is not understanding when it becomes relevant to raise legal issues and how. That's what I would say.
Wow. So my last question would be, what advice would you give to young legal professionals, especially women? Uh, okay, they can manage their careers and passions uh, beautifully and scale it, those activities, both the career and the passion part also.
Again, I would say pace yourself. Another issue that I see with many women, and I think maybe I might have had this fear as well, is that if you become a mother or if you are at a certain stage in life, you will no longer be able to work. Those kind of fears tend to hold us back or make us work in ways that are, in the longer term, not beneficial to us. What you need to do is to pace yourself. If you need to take breaks, it's okay to take breaks. Because then it might mean, for instance, that you're able to devote more attention to something at a given point of time. And once it's set up in a certain way, for example, simple example is on being around for your children. I've taken a couple of breaks in my lawyering journey where I spent more time around my children. And I absolutely would never regret that, because it also means that they're secure in their attachment with me. I'm secure in how they've been cared for, that I'm able to return and to work and, to focus more time and energy later. So don't worry too much about doing it all. If you need to prioritize, prioritize, and don't beat yourself up or set artificial targets for yourself. That's what I would say.
Wow. So let's go to next round and understand Harini as a person. Tell us about your family and your formative years. We have heard a lot of about your sister. Now let's hear about your family and your formative years.
Um, One interesting thing I would say that has been very influential on me is that from the time I was very young, I moved a lot. So
Mm.
even before I started at university, I had lived in Chennai, Madras, as it was called then, Singapore, Indonesia, Mysore, and Bangalore. So I moved a lot, and I think this made me a lot more adaptable and learn to just adjust to circumstances as and when they were. Aside to my sister, I also have a brother. And another very interesting thing about my family is that we're a family of readers. Maybe not so much my brother when we were younger, but for the rest of us, though now he is one, you'd almost always find everybody in the house with a nose in a book. So there could be times you'd walk into a room and, there are four people sitting in four corners reading a book each. I used to really look forward to library visits with my mother and negotiations on behalf of the three of us around how many books are for the adults to borrow and how many for the kids, because there's a maximum limit. So weekly visits to the library, and every week my father used to buy me a new book at a certain point in time. So every Saturday I'd be waiting with a lot of excitement over what book has he bought me this week. So lots of lovely memories like that. But essentially, what makes me tick, if you look at that, I think these are two specific elements in my formative years that have really shaped me as an individual.
Wow. So what's that book or movie which you like to revisit again and again?
When I was a bit younger, actually, I liked reading a couple of books. One was Gandhiji's autobiography, a story of my experiments with truth. I've read it two or three times. Subsequently, another book I really liked reading was Autobiography of a Yogi. That was also something that had quite an impact on me when I read it in my teens, though. Um, More recently, I wouldn't say there's a specific book I've been returning to, but someone very dear to me always used to say that in matters of faith, I'm a karma yogi, he used to say, even now he says it every so often. That is, my duty comes first, and then, I have only so much time for actual acts of faith. That resonates a lot with me in the sense that for me, duty matters a lot. So recently, I started reading the Bhagavad Gita with that lens and with that angle, that, understanding duty and understanding what it means to do your duty and without, looking at the rewards.
Wow. As you said, you have lived in different parts of the world. Which is your favorite city and why?
I'm guessing that we can exclude India for this, but if we can, Singapore is my favorite city because
Oh.
it's I would say it has a lot that you would not expect. I
Yeah.
spent many a wonderful afternoon or a day off in Singapore walking through its very green parks, where
Mhm.
it's still a little bit forest-like, and you can even do like a 12-kilometer trek in one of those. So Singapore is my favorite city.
Wow. Okay. So let's go to your memory down in your college days. Uh, what made you go to Nalsar, Hyderabad, and what are your experience memories and how did it help in shaping your career?
Uh, this is very easy. I wrote only two. So I'm old enough that there was no CLAT when I wrote the entrance exam. So I only wrote two. I wrote one for NLS and one for NALSAR. I qualified NALSAR, so I went to NALSAR. That's quite simply the answer. Um, I mean, in some ways, the world was a simpler place back then. So um,
Mhm.
I do have a lot of fond memories from NALSAR. I'm still in touch with my batchmates. I think. Anyone who's been to one of these law schools, you will have memories of sitting in the hostel and discussing threadbare some judgment or having some deeply intellectual conversation at 3 a.m. and then remembering you have an assignment due. So, been there, done that, those kind of memories. Also had the chance to interact with some really great faculty members, some of whom I even know more right now. Couple of other things that I really enjoyed in college. One was in a particular mood. In preparing the memorial, I had stumbled upon certain. So this was my first brush with technology law, where we came up with this argument that a certain thing could not be done by the police, but had to be done by certain under a particular order that was in force at the time. I think that was one of the instrumental things that helped us win the best memorial award in that mood. Other than that, another really memorable experience was co-authoring a book on constitutional law. The chief architect for that was my senior Anirudh Krishnan. He was a year senior to me in law school. And he did all the groundwork. It was his idea. He found a really good publisher, LexisNexis towards Nagpur. And he kind of mapped it out, planned it out, and subsequently asked me to become a co-author, which I did. And so we each wrote one part of it. So writing that while keeping my grades up, and then also doing some good internships. Let's just say that was challenging, but very memorable as well. So college years were quite packed. I hold them very dear in my heart.
Wow. So Nalsar has introduced what do you say, a curriculum, a course for this law students, Gen AI and AI with a legal tech startup. And yeah, Gen LU, Jindal Global.
Mhm.
I heard apna ILS also tied up with apna Jurisphere. Yesterday I was having conversation with one of
Okay.
coffee speaker.
All
He's from
right.
ILS. So law firms are doing, but colleges also doing their part of upskilling the law students with AI and Gen and AI. Okay, how they become what do you say, AI lawyers before they enter the
Yeah.
legal apna actual world, corporate legal or law firms. That's beautiful. Okay, so what's one hobby or personal passion people would never guess you have?
Cooking. I really like cooking. Uh, um, I like discovering some old traditional recipes and redoing them. Uh, some are not that very obscure, even, but I don't see many people, say, in my generation who've either eaten those or tried them out. Also, I just like coming up with my own recipes, cooking with whatever is available on hand. I really enjoy cooking most of the time. Another thing I like is going on treks. I don't do it that very often. I'm not one of those ultra marathon type people, but I really like going on treks, challenging myself. Yeah, those are two things I really like.
Wow. So what's a ritual or habit that keeps you grounded amidst all the tech and legal buzz?
Three things are there. First is I read every day, pretty much. I read at bedtime, and that's a very important thing for me. Even my kids know. They'll ask me, "What book are you reading today, Amma?" The next thing is physical activity. I need to go for a walk or a jog or some workout several times a week at least 4 or 5 times a week. And that makes me feel very energized and ready for everything. Um, and of course, meditation, mindfulness, self care several times a week as well, whenever I can.
Wow. So if your friends had to describe you in 3 words, what would it be?
Hmm. Understanding, humorous, uh, kind.
Wow. So, Harini, suppose you had 1 week away from no work, no gadgets. Uh, what? How did you find your Zen over there, and what were your actions?
This is a lot of fun. As long as I have access to a library, I'm good. Library, a kitchen. Uh,
Hmm.
and if I really felt like it, I might even sing a little bit. I'm not very professionally trained. I've done a little bit, as I said, I moved a lot. So I've learned a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But to amuse myself, I might sing a bit. But other than that, if I have a kitchen to cook some good, nutritious meals and I have a library, I'm really fine.
Wow. So, what are your plans for 2025, personally and professionally?
Personally, it is at some level to little bit get back on the track of mindfulness and meditation. I think I've not been doing it as often or for as long as I would like to. So between that and also, reading the Bhagavad Gita and kind of understanding my own, or calibrating my own personal, moral not even moral compass, like, my value system. That's something I want to do. Professionally, I have some ideas that I would like to action. I don't want to actually talk about those ideas, but I have a few slightly larger side projects that I would really like to dabble in. There was one smallish one I did recently where I vibe coded very short game, which is a little bit retro themed, maze type game, space themed. To show how data protection or DPDP Act is relevant for gaming companies. So it has quiz questions around that also built in. It's a very short game, just like about 2 minutes or so, but it took some time and it was a really fun project. But I have a slightly larger side project in mind. Yeah, so which I would like, which will involve some amount of dabbling in tech and also understanding legal issues. So that's professionally, that's something that I'm
I
planning
like
to
to see
tinker
that
on.
because I bought a comic book on data privacy. I'll share that in the group.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
Beautifully explained in a comic way, different aspects of a data privacy rules, regulations, the clauses, everything, how to go about. So
Wow.
a comic, someone came
I
up with a
should get
comic
that.
format. That was,
I should get that. My
yes.
children love comics, so I think I should show that to them
So
too.
you want to make them lawyers?
Get them ready. Yes.
Sure, I'll send that. And if it's possible, along with this book, I'll send a comic book also. Let me
Thank you
see.
so much.
Okay. Well, I like that way it is presented. You'll also love it, and your children also love it. कि ये comics. One of my coffee speak in Mumbai. There is every year we have this comic ये
Comic
festival
Con.
on
Okay.
Comic Con, and it was at Geo, and he went there and he bought. I had also been in the past, and I had bought a couple of books on ये Sufi comic books. That
Oh,
was very, yeah, still.
wow.
Okay, let me find out and I'll share that. He went and bought apna ये Iron Man का. So he's a fan of Iron Man. Okay. S- Now my next question will be apna ये 2-1, reflective and googly. Since we have got this Three Shakti series, what does Three Shakti mean to you?
For me, Stree Shakti really means endurance, resilience, uh, having staying power,
Wow,
displaying strength no matter what gets thrown at you. That is
beautiful.
Stree Shakti for me.
So last one is a googly one. Describe Harini in one line.
Sincere, sweet, very particular about integrity,
Wow,
and always striving for excellence.
beautiful. Okay. So let's go to the next round and put Harini in the hot seat, the rapid fire round. Your go-to comfort food.
Curd rice.
Wow. AI or Ayurveda? Which do you trust first for life advice?
Uh, uh, Life advice. I'm going with AI, hoping that it's got some Ayurvedic texts that have been swept up as well, because otherwise I don't have access to Ayurveda easily.
You know. Okay. Uh, California sunshine or Bengaluru monsoons?
California sunshine.
Data privacy villain. Social media or facial recognition?
Um, Ooh, this is really hard. I would say in the balance, social media.
Wow. Your guilty pleasure song or artist?
I don't believe I have any. I'm very, very boring.
Okay, it's fine. Uh, Zen mode, solo beach walk or silent retreat in the hills?
Can I do both, please?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Your favorite color?
Blue.
Why everyone is saying blue? Almost this is a common color I'm getting. Mine is also blue.
I think blue just makes you feel very calm and relaxed. For me, at least, that's why it is.
I
I
know, I
think
know. Coffee, chai, or coconut water?
chai, ginger chai,
Okay.
adrak chai.
So let's raise a toast. And you did well. And here's a book, which will be autographed and
Yay!
sent to you. So, friends,
Thank you
it was
so
a
much.
lovely conversation having with Harini. I would say, watch this conversation. She has gone through different journeys of her life. She has been in different parts of the city. She's managing a career, her passion, the mindfulness app, and the links will be there for to download and change your life. Because mindfulness is a way of life, and you can, whether you're eating, you're breathing, walking, and working, you have mindfulness in all aspects of life, and yes, that changes you, gets you focused. There is an HBR article also I'll share, and I've written an article also. So like that, there are sorry, 500 coffee speakers. Now we have crossed 500. Earlier last
Wow.
that was 450, now it is 500. So where they have shared their inspiring journeys. We have got different series. This one was lawyer. We have got apna cyber sec. We have got entrepreneur, Sri Shakti, which I've shared earlier. We have got working professional, startup. We have got panel discussion, special episodes, so many things where each coffee speaker brings. And we have got this three hashtags: change maker, memory maker, and bring smiles for a lifetime. So all those speakers, they go back in the past, present, and future. So this is what a coffee speaker brings to the table. And if you want to feature like Harini, visit our website, the Emerging India Forum, or LinkedIn page, or connect with any coffee speaker. They would put in a word and invite you to have coffee conversations. So take care. Thank you.